Welcome back to Sharks Happen. On today's show, we are going to go over a few spearfisherman incidents, a swimmer, and we'll finish off the show with what were you thinking? So what were you thinking? So stick around, it's going to be a great show. Okay, we're going to start out real quick. We're going to head over to Hawaii. We're going to Waimea Bay, and the date on this attack is March 31st of 1970. Ernie Reathaford, he was out swimming, and it said that a large wave swept him out to sea. And when they went to go search for him, they found a 15 to 18 foot shark. So most likely a tiger shark, because they didn't say what kind. 15 to 18 foot shark circling the area, and they found human remains in the area. I haven't seen what they ended up finding in the area as far as these human remains, but it's definitely an attack, an attempt to predate and a predation. Like I said, I'm not sure what remains they found. Usually if they find, a torso or arms missing, a legs missing, they're going to tell you that. So to hear remains, it sounds like it was probably very little of the body. So that's the first attack we're going over in Waimea Bay in Hawaii, and Ernie Reathaford, and we'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to San Onofre State Beach, and that is over in California, and the date on this attack, November 29th of 1992. John Regan, he is 31 years old, and at about 3:30 he's out doing some spearfishing. He's not far from shore. He's about 100 yards from shore. No telling the depth of water. And he's got a speared fish with him, because he says he shouldn't have been dragging a speared fish with him when he's in the water. But he's only 100 yards from shore. And he gets bitten in the leg. It sounds like the lower leg, so the calf area. He had to get stitches for it. It was a pretty decent bite. And they said this was, at first they said this was a 1.6 meter, so about a 6 foot mako shark. But mako shark being 100 feet from shore, that's kind of close to shore. Ralph Collier looked into this one, and he assumed that this was a juvenile great white shark, which is what I would think that went ahead and attacked him. A little 6 footer, one of the smaller ones, and bit him in the leg. The fish attracted it, but they bite the person. I'm wondering if they bite the person just to get them away, territorial type thing, so that they can feed on the fish. Because the spearfishermen get bit all the time, and the fish get left alone most of the time. So I know that the blood will attract them, but it's the fight, it's the vibrations from the struggling fish that's really going to make them attack. That's why I think when you're bleeding, just like the guy that jumped into the school of sharks, that guy from Jackass, and he got bit by one of the sharks, and everybody's in the water, but they got him back to the boat without any of these other dozens of sharks touching him. It's because of how you move. I'm almost positive that when you're thrashing around, it's picking up those vibrations just like from a fish, and it's going to come after you. So if you can stay calm, that's the best thing. But mako sharks have been in shallower waters, but it's just unusual for them to be 100 feet from shore, especially over in California, where you have the juvenile great whites up and down that coast all the time. Because they feed, they probably have a nursery that's around those islands that have tons of pinnipeds on them, tons of the seals and sea lions. So that's just my opinion. I don't have anything to go by. I've never been to California, so I don't know. But that's the attack on John Regan, an attack, not an attempt to predate. 6 foot shark, we're not going to put down the type because there's a discrepancy between a mako, it could be a mako, and it could be a small great white. The difference would be the great white would have so much girth on it than a small mako like that. But he probably didn't get a good look at it. He was probably swimming ashore. It doesn't sound like he saw the shark very much. So they might have gotten the size from the size of the bite. That's the attack on John Regan. We'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to the Quran River, which is over in Avaz, Iran. It's 275 miles, this attack site in the river, 275 kilometers, so about 200 miles from the ocean. Mr. Nasser Seemrookh was out and he was swimming. Now he's 400 meters. This could be a what were you thinking? He's only 400 meters from a slaughterhouse. And he's only 200 meters from a sewage outlet. So you're in a river, and I'm thinking this is probably a saltwater river, or has saltwater inlets running to it close to where this attack happened. There's got to be salt involved because there's a shark involved. So 275 kilometers off the ocean, this man is swimming in the river, 400 meters from a slaughterhouse, 200 meters from a sewage dump, and he gets attacked by a shark. He gets back in. I don't know if people went in to help him, but he gets back in, but his arm, I believe it's his right arm, severed at the elbow. So they say this is a 1.5 meter shark, which would be just under 6 feet. But we're going to put this in the stats anyway because it's so close. And they said the body of the shark was gray, and they assumed that it was a bull shark. Well, you know, unless it's fully, even if it is fully salt, I'll have to look into those saltwater rivers and see if any other types of sharks are in them other than the bull sharks. But it's most likely a bull shark of 6 feet that went ahead and attacked Mr. Seemrookh, I believe his name is, yeah, Mr. Seemrookh. So he gets an attack, not an attempt to predate, 6 foot shark, probably a bull shark. And like I said, the location of this thing makes it a what were you thinking? Do not go in the water near slaughterhouses, first of all, because even if you don't have them throwing chunks of offal, you know, the leftovers from what they're butchering into the water, you could always have them cleaning up and blood being entered into the water just with them cleaning the floors, water runoff, anything. So if there's a slaughterhouse close to the water, stay away from that part of the water if it's salt water. And then if it's a sewage dump, same thing. That's the attack on Mr. Seemrookh. Like I said, an attack, not an attempt to predate, lost his arm at the elbow. Small shark, really, 6 footer, you know, but 6 footer bull, great white tiger, take your arm right off. So that's the attack, and we will move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to Nimitz Beach. That is over in Oahu, Hawaii. The date on this attack is December 13th of 1981. Melvin Toma, he is 35 years old, and he went out to do some spearfishing. We don't have the time of the day he went to do the spearfishing, but we do have the details, some of them. He got himself about 300, 400 yards from shore, so he just entered the water, and it sounds like as he was swimming out to the spot, he was looking for fish on the way out, but he got himself 300 to 400 feet, 300, 400 meters from shore, and he's in 20 feet deep water. He's at the surface, and he's swimming, and he's looking down for fish when he's bitten in the leg. He's bitten in the leg severely, and it sounds like gets himself back to shore. That's quite a distance to go with the wound that he ended up having on his leg. His leg needed 200 stitches from a tiger shark they assume is 12 feet long that bit on his leg when he was swimming out there looking around for fish. I didn't see that he saw the shark. It probably did. Tiger sharks aren't known to be very fast, you know, fast moving when they're in their attack. They're kind of lazy like sometimes, so he might have seen the shark himself. But they say this is a 12-foot tiger shark that bit into his leg. 200 stitches it required, and he ends up surviving with an attack, not an attempt to predate, 12-foot tiger shark. But you know, and there's another attack. These spear fishermen get attacked a lot, even when they don't have fish on their spears. And I'd say about half of them do, half of them don't, that we've covered so far. Maybe that's something I have to look at when I get these, the last 30 or 40 of these attacks that I'm going over into my stats, so we get to 1,000 large shark attacks. So that's the attack on Melvin Toma. Lucky to have his leg. You know, those tiger sharks' teeth are so sharp that. My feeling is that if they don't take your leg, it's just because they stop themselves. They could do it in a heartbeat. So lucky for Mr. Toma that he, you know, ends up with 200 stitches. I didn't see anything about nerves or any kind of damage to tendons, things like that would make it protracted, I guess, a longer rehabilitation for it. But hopefully he recovers to near 100% with that leg. And that's the attack on Melvin Toma, and we'll move on. Okay, we're going to finish off our unprovoked attacks for the show. We are going to head over to Ocean Beach. That is in Australia, Western Australia. The date on this attack is June 24th of 2015. Lily Kumpe, she is 37 years old, and she is going out to do some morning surfing. It's 9:30 in the morning. Water's clear. It's 60 degrees Fahrenheit, so chilly day. 2 surfers are in the water, and 1 swimmer is in the water at the time of the attack. And like I said, 9:30. She's got herself at 9:30. She's 30 to 40 meters from shore, but she's only 20 meters from some rocks. There's a set of rocks along the side of her jetty, rock cliff, one of the two, but that's the distance from those. She's in 8 feet of water at the time this attack happens. Now she's paddling out. She isn't even out to catch her wave yet. And I believe it's her right arm that's up in the air. She gets knocked off her board and she doesn't know what happened. Well, her right arm ends up being up in the air. You know how you're paddling out? Or her arm's in the air. The shark came up and bit that board quickly before her arm got back down, or she would have had her arm involved in it too. Just so happened that her arm was up in the air and not on that board or down in the water when that shark came up and bit. So she's knocked off her board. The shark didn't seem to bite her, although she does have one kind of gash on her hand. So maybe her hand got hit by a shark tooth somehow. But the shark ended up, she either landed on that shark when she got knocked off the board, or the shark swam and rubbed against her, swimming underneath her. Because her wounds, unlike most that I've seen, and they don't go over all these, rub marks, these marks you get from the skin, but she had them all over the place. First of all, her chin was bruised. I'm thinking that's the board smacking her in the face when it ended up getting bit and she got knocked off. She had those rub marks, the bruising and rubbing from the skin, so it's all rashed up on her chest, on the middle of her chest, it's on her neck, on the middle of her chest, and it's on both legs and both feet. So she that shark must have came up, bit her real quick. I'm thinking she fell off the board and the shark went right underneath her and kind of rubbed her up with his rough skin. And she ends up with no bites, no sutures that I see. So yeah, she's just lucky she had her arm up out of the water doing her paddling when the shark bit that side of the board. Would have definitely got it. It's right up by the front of the board, maybe a foot down from the tip of the board. There starts a chunk coming out of there. So it would have definitely got her arm if it was anywhere near the water. So she got lucky that way, and she got lucky just being rubbed by the shark instead of bitten. Almost the least amount of damage in an attack where you're in contact with the shark. There is one other guy that has his finger nicked. It's one of the craziest ones, but a huge shark. I think it was like 15 feet. And all he had was a nick on his finger through this attack that he had with that shark. So sometimes you can come out of these things okay, but this time it seems like it was a lot of luck where her arm was in the air and then she fell on the shark and it didn't bother with her afterwards. I think she fell on the shark. But who knows, it could have went around. She did not see the shark. So that was an odd thing to have all that rubbing on the front of your body and you didn't see a shark. She says she saw maybe the shape of a tail as it went away, but she didn't end up seeing it. So that's the attack on Lily Clump, just a crazy one where, the luck worked in her favor, just like that timing thing where the two sharks attacked that one surfer and the one ended up grabbing him before the other one would have bit him in the head and kind of pulled him out of the way at the last second. So that's where you're lucky when you're bitten in by a shark. She was lucky to not be bit by the shark. That other surfer that had the double great white attack was lucky that the one bit him, because it would have been worse if it hadn't. So just crazy attacks. I find that kind of amusing that could happen with the guy that got pulled out of the way with that other shark, and the dual attack that you don't see many times. So that's the attack on Lily Clump, and we'll be right back with what were you thinking, and then some comments on the end of the show. Okay, this what were you thinking takes place January 1st of 1959, and it's over in Seemrookh province of Papua New Guinea. There's a gentleman who speared a fish. Do I have the age of the gentleman? It just says male was dragging a speared shark. So he speared himself a shark, about a 5-foot shark I think it was, but they didn't really see the size. But he's dragging this shark that he just caught into the beach. Here's the what were you thinking. He's dragging it between his legs, and how I know that is it bit his penis. Dragging a shark to a beach, you should have that thing 10 feet back. So it can't do something like that. It can't turn and bite you in the leg, grab you in the hand, or worse, bite your penis. I mean, that was just a bad one. So we don't have the name of this gentleman, so I can go through this. But that just makes no sense to me. That's one of those stupid things people do with these sharks. Dragging it so close that it can bite you, and you get bit like that. Maybe you're asking for it in that case. So that's what were you thinking? Just a real quick one there. Few comments. We've had some attacks. We've had the attack on the little boy, 9-year-old, I think it was, down in the Keys. I haven't really looked into it yet. I did hear that they airlifted him out of there, bite to the leg, I believe it was. It could be just about anything. If you're going to be bitten in the Keys, they're pretty much going to have to airlift you to a hospital somewhere else. I don't even believe, unless you're in Key West, that they have any kind of a nice size hospital. There's little clinics on the way, like in Isla Mirada by the fire station. There's a clinic there, but they can't handle shark attacks, I don't think. So I don't think it's odd for somebody to be airlifted out. I would, hope this is a small shark that went ahead and bit him and he's doing all right. But I haven't looked into that one yet. And I haven't looked into the other one yet that this predation that just happened again over there, and I think it's Esperance area, where they have a lot of bad attacks. That's where Cameron Bays ended up being whirlpooled down into the water by the shark. People thought it made a whirlpool and sucked them in. Well, it was swimming around him fast and probably reached up with his jaws and grabbed him and pulled him in. But with what it looked like from shore, it probably looked like a whirlpool and sucked them in. And we've come up with that on, I think, 3 attacks where the shark has made a whirlpool. One of them was the Tamara McAllister and Roddy Stoddard out there. The woman from her house saw out past the kelp beds a disturbance in the water. That kind of makes me think of the same thing. And then we just covered one shortly ago where the shark kind of did that circling and made that whirlpool, but didn't bite the people. They got back to shore. It was doing it after the attack, and the people made it back to shore. So those are the 3 that I know where they do that. But this guy ended up attacked, and a couple things on that is, they did recover the body. First of all, the couple of surfers went out there and got the body after the attack, and they reported multiple limbs missing. So that's more than one. So it's a matter of, it sounds like, from all I've heard, it took the legs out with one bite. But I don't know if it came back and took an arm, took something else. I mean, I would have thought that they would have said it took his legs if it took his legs. So it might have been worse than that. I've heard that this thing breached and kind of landed on him when it attacked him. Took him and the board under, and they found the board in pieces. They found it in 2 or 3 pieces, I think it is. So they were able to recover all that. And I haven't heard what kind of shark it is. The breaching and attack, I would say a great white for sure. And but it's Western Australia. I know they do have. I think they have some bull sharks over there. But I don't think that they would breach like that and do that kind of damage when they're attacking. But you run into a 13-footer. The biggest that they come, you never know what they're going to do. So. An odd attack on that guy, just the way that it ended up happening to where it was so damaging, yet they were able to go out and bring the body back in. So either the shark was done with him or was dealing with what it was biting off. I don't know. Again, I don't look into those till a little bit of time has passed so that I have more information than what I would if I went ahead and talked about it the day after. I mean, you talk about a shark attack the day after, you're not going to have a lot of information on it. So, and that's why I just discuss them like this instead of cover them, is because I don't have the information yet, and I'm waiting for that to get in. So those are the 2 attacks. Somebody sent me a video of over in Nova Scotia, there was a diver, and 2 divers, I believe it was, and they were down in the water, and a great white came up to them, and it looked like a 9-10 footer. And that doesn't surprise me because there's 3 of them pinging off Nova Scotia on O-Search right now. You got to figure for every shark that they got tagged, there's got to be 100 more that aren't tagged. I mean, they can't be tagging a large amount of these. So when I see the tags, I assume there's a lot more of those great whites around these tags than what I'm seeing. Same thing with Nova Scotia. So it was funny because I had checked my O-Search app last week, and just a day after I checked it and saw those sharks up in Nova Scotia. There's not a lot down by the Keys. They're all basically real north right now. And 3 of them were, but the odd thing is one of them is in the St. Lawrence River, not the Seaway. It's not all the way down to the Seaway, but it is in the St. Lawrence River, and it is a juvenile great white shark. Looks like it's pretty much in the opening of it, but it's odd to see it there, at least to me. So, the guy had said that the shark came and checked them out. So the shark comes up, they're at the seafloor. He's down there with probably somebody that he's given, you know, diving instructions to or something, because he told him that the guy that he was with wanted to go to the surface when he saw the shark. Well, smartly, this guy said, no, we stay down here. So they stayed at the bottom. That's your best bet with a great white. They want to attack you when you're on the surface. So if you're on the bottom, you got half a chance. But this thing slowly checked them out, it sounds like, for a little while. And he says that they kind of sniffed them, which was kind of funny. But it had to be close. Too close for my comfort. And, you know, when you're thinking a great white shark, a 9-foot great white shark doesn't seem like anything, but then that's 3 feet longer than I am tall, and then you're like, that's a big fish. So I'd be freaking out. To keep me from going into the water. No injury in that case, which is a good thing. I was also sent a story from Ali, and this one covers the attack on Stephen Samples, I believe it was. Right, I think that might have been in the same area as this latest fatality they had over in Australia. But they went ahead, and this was, Stephen Samples was the one, he was on honeymoon, 6-month honeymoon with his wife, with his wife. They were newlyweds, and they were doing I believe their honeymoon out there, and he was going out to surf, and they said that he didn't take his shark repellent. He had one of those shark repellents that they have. They said that it was Shark Bands, B-A-N-Z, that he owned, but that he didn't have it with him. And then the experts concluded the same thing I've been saying about all these electronic devices. It's not going to help in a large shark attack when it's charging at you like that. It's not going to do anything. The only thing that's going to prevent is those lazy test bite type things. Maybe that'll run into the field, it'll disturb them enough that they'll go check out somebody else. That's the only thing that's going to do. Now back to the shark bands, I looked into that, but in the story I saw, they said that is not one of the 3 approved shark repellents that they have. I don't know what the 3 are, but over in Australia, there's a $200, I believe it is. You get a $200 supplement to go ahead and buy one of the 3 that are approved, but this one wasn't, so he wouldn't have been able to get his $200 towards it. But if you buy one of the 3 that are approved, you do get a $200 supplement to it. But he didn't have that. But they said that none of those would work, and that's what I've been saying. These things are moving 10, 20 miles an hour. A split second it might feel that. It's not going to be long at all. It's not long enough that it's going to do anything. And to be able to do that, you need to have a lot of wattage or whatever behind you there to be able to affect them long before they get to you if they're going that fast. I'll put up that charging shark that goes after that tuna bait, and you can see how fast that thing's going. I mean, a shark going that fast, it hits a field that might mess with it. It ain't gonna mess with it because it doesn't have time to. So only thing those things are gonna stop is the shark that's coming up lazily and wants to check you out. So those test bites, as we call them. So quick update on the last trip I took down to do some fishing and some golfing. The golfing went terrible. The golfing went so bad that when I got back here, I went out a few buckets of balls, changed my whole stance, and fixed my driving. My irons still aren't there. My putting's improving and my chipping is. So, I'm looking forward to going back in a couple weeks here and seeing how I do on the same courses the next 2 days that I play them. We went fishing. Unlike the last time we went, I forgot to mention my dad. He was stepping into the boat. Now we get in off of a dock at Grassy Pond. They have a nice dock to pull up against. We didn't have one at the other place, so I'm standing there. My dad's got the boat next to the dock, and he puts his feet in, and he's holding onto the dock, and he goes to push himself in, and the boat starts going away from him. He was stretched to the limit. His arms were back here and his feet were all the way just barely on the boat. I thought he was going in. And you're in shock real quick. You're stunned at what you're seeing. So it took me a second to get over there and pull the boat back in. Luckily he didn't go in that time. But we go out fishing again. And before we leave, we have to check we had to put in the new impeller and put that back together and make sure that the water flow was going to cool the engine, to cool the motor. So we get that all put back together and turn it on, and it's working fine. After a few tries, we get it running. And so we're ready to pull out. Now, as we're pulling the boat out, he's pulling the boat out, and they have those, he has those PVC pipes going up to guide the boat in and to show him which way he needs to go with the trailer when he's in a large truck. And he snapped that off just pulling out of the garage. It grabbed on the side of the garage and snapped off. That's 3 times that one is snapped off. I think the other one's been snapped off twice. So he had to repair that. Now we get out there and we go fishing, and we're heading out, got the motor running, and he could tell it's overheating as soon as we're on our way over there. So the impeller stopped working, that thing's overheating. We're on the electric trolling motor now. Well, the electric trolling motor, the time before, if you remember, it was dry, it had no water in there. So he put water in there and he charged it, and the light went green and we went out. Well, the thing didn't work at all. So now, the little lawnmower battery we used for the Garmin, we had to use that to troll around, and we had to sparingly use the motor to get back in. Well, finally we found the right impeller, we think, from China, and it looks like it is from the video he sent me. The pressure, before the water was just leaking out, now it's being pushed out. You can see it's like a faucet. It's got some pressure there, so that's probably fixed good. And the battery issue, we've been changing the battery. The lawnmower battery is actually the lawnmower battery. It's this riding lawnmower. So how we do this is we hook up the boat to the lawnmower, drag that out of the garage, take it to the street, hook that up, and put the lawnmower away. Well, he has to take the battery out of the lawnmower, put it in there, and he uses that. We use that for the Garmin, and we use it for the hitch, the electric hitch, to bring the boat up onto the trailer. But we don't need it it's so steep at Grassy Pond. We don't need to use that. But so I went out and I got a brand new battery, 100 AH AGM battery for the trolling motor, and then a brand new Mighty Max little battery for the Garmin and for the other things. So now we don't have to be switching the battery out of the lawnmower. We can throw that other piece of junk away. It's obviously bad. I don't know if the heat sends them bad, but it wasn't a good battery. So now we'll be all set with that stuff. But when we were out trolling around, we did find this one area, real nice area with fallen trees kind of into the water. So we're casting into that. And we're getting like half of the hits are like bluegills, little bobby things. Half of them are dragged the thing to the side, but slowly. And so it's like a crappie hit. Well, you're like, what the hell is going on here? So we hooked up into a couple of these. He hooked up into the first one, and this thing must have been a monster. It's at least 3 foot long, catfished it, because I saw its body as it came towards the boat, and then it started freaking out. But this thing cut his line by going straight under the boat, so his pole is bent under the boat before the line snapped. So that's how that one got away. And then I hooked up on maybe a 2-footer. It was a decent size, but it was nowhere near the thing he had. I thought it was a big bluegill, or a decent sized bluegill, until I got it to the boat, and that's when it tugged and it snapped the line. Now, the reason it's snapping the line is we tie on 4-pound test monofilament, not monofilament, that invisible stuff, real light string. And we tie that on the end 7-8 feet so that the fish can't see the line, because I have 8-pound test in my, and that's just too heavy for the little fish that we're after. So now I went ahead and bought what we need to land these things. I bought a nice big net, 5 foot long, with, off the handle. So we'll be able to catch these now and get them into the boat. We've caught, I don't know how many, but we're never able to get them into the boat. So now we should be able, with the 5-foot handle, to get a catfish or two into the boat. And I told them next time we go, we'll go to that catfish spot, pick up a couple of the catfish, and then we'll go find where the crappie and bluegill are. So that's going to be our plan of action next time. So this next update, I'll be heading down there the 27th and 28th for golf, and the 29th I'll fish, and then I'll come back. But we'll see how the golfing goes when I go back there. And the fishing should be pretty much all set with the boat now, seeing as we'll have the batteries set, He'll have fixed what he busted off of it once again. New impeller, so we should be all set to go. We have yet to be, I think we had one time we were out there when the boat didn't have any issues, and that was on Banks Lake, and we couldn't find anything that day, and they were spraying purple stuff all over the weeds there that week, so it wasn't the best fishing, as you could say. But that's the show for today. If you need merch, again, if you're ordering multiple items, it's going to add up like you're having individual packages sent there. That shipping rate is not going to be what it is. I'm going to refund you most of it. It's usually going to be a little bit more than the most expensive shipping rate there, maybe $1 or $2 more. I haven't had any that were, you know, very much more than this one single item shipping, and it shouldn't change. So if you order something, it's going to cost you more in shipping, but you're going to be refunded down to what it costs to ship you the stuff, unlike the way that it adds it all up. And the way you can get there is, this is all small letters, SHAHAP with a dash and then 68. That is my page. So SHAHAP, all one word, small letters, dash or minus sign, and then a 68. And that takes you to my page, and you'll see everything there. And that should be the easy way to get the stuff there from the store. So thanks for watching. And always, if you go into that water, always remember, you are much more afraid of these sharks than they are of you.